Good evening, everyone. This is the Town of Sheldon Selectboard and Water Commission regular meeting held here Monday, December 22nd, 2025. Here at the town office. New business for the agenda tonight. Got a highway report, town administrator's report, minutes of the December 8th meeting, minutes of the December 18th meeting. Need to sign and approve warrant 238 and warrant 31712. We need to sign and approve a 2-year note with People's Trust Company for the salt shed. And then under old business, we've got personnel policy and purchasing policy.
Oh, I made a mistake. The warrant number for the payroll should have an extra number on it. I'm sorry. I think it's 238. Anyway, it's a higher number than 238. And then the other, along with the 2-year note, there's also a banking resolution to sign for the Wood People's Trust. It's a standard resolution that you sign every year.
Alright. Yep, so I'll start right out with the highway report. How are you on it?
Yeah, how are you?
Good.
So the salt shed construction was completed. We got like approximately like 10 loads of salt in there right now, so we're in pretty good shape for salt. We still have to put the hook up all the lights for it. I bought 2 like floodlights pretty much, for one for the inside of the building to face in, so when you're in there when it's dark out you can see, and then one for the outside of the building so we can see it when we're backing up to it. We gotta hook those up. It shouldn't be too bad, but we pulled out both of the brine tanks that were inside of the garage, and we placed them next to the salt shed, so when we back up to fill up our trucks with salt, we can just hook the brine right up and you don't have to move the trucks all around, so that'll be a little bit more efficient than the way that we were doing it. We got an electric brine pump. We've had that for a while, but the company that we get the brine from, if you buy a certain amount, which we do between the brine that we use for the winter and then our dust control, the chloride we get from the same company, so we're eligible to get a free electric pump. So we took advantage of that this year and got that, and we got that all hooked up and ready to go. I got 5,000 gallons of brine. Last year the price was $1.66. This year it was $1.68, so it only went up 2 cents. So I thought that was pretty good. So we're all set on brine and salt at the time. I already told you guys, we pulled the fenders off of it and sandblasted them. We painted them up, and we have one fender back on and the other one is still off because we took a step off to get that step that was on like the passenger side per se, was all rusted up, so we pulled that off and we gotta sandblast that and paint that still. We had a hard time getting the correct color paint, but we have it now, so we'll be able to finish that pretty quick. I bought an owner's manual for the loader. It didn't come with one, and they didn't want to throw it in after we had already bought it, so that was kind of expensive. It was $100, but I figured it was pretty important to have it, so we served it the correct way. We got Matt McCrae he bought a radio online. It's a lot cheaper than going through Burlington Communications. You gotta program it, and hopefully we can pick up the same frequency so we can talk to the guys in the truck or backhoe, whatever we're in, we'll have a way to communicate with each other, so hopefully that works. I had John Deere come and they're working on putting a quote together, for either fixing the old sweeper that we had that we talked about last meeting or, getting a new one. I haven't heard back from either of those yet. The fire extinguisher company came, they went through everything that was in the shop that we had. All the extinguishers that we had were good except for 2 of them. They fixed one on site and the other one they had to replace it and with one of theirs, and they'll be back to give us our old one back when they fix that one. Champlain Doors is coming tomorrow to do warranty work on one of the doors that was hit last winter. They replaced 2 panels on it, and they didn't finish it. They didn't put like the end pieces on the end of the door where they cut it. So it was the metal part of the door was starting to peel up and on both panels. So they came and looked at it and they're gonna warranty that. And then one of the new ones that they installed, in the springtime, the controls and everything like fell off the wall, so they fixed that under warranty as well. We did a little bit of road work on Cattell Road before we got all the snow. We brought like 3 loads of stone out there and back dragged it with the loader. It held up pretty good. It froze like that night we did it, so the road held up pretty good until we got that last little bit of rain, or a lot of bit of rain the other day. Some of the potholes came back, but the road still held up pretty good compared to what it was. We cut some dead trees that were on Poor Farm Road on the asphalt part of it as you pull into the school. There's a couple big ones that were getting ready to fall down, so we pushed those back, and there was one that had fallen down and we cut that up and got it out of the way. We did a bunch of sign work as well. We put narrow bridge ahead signs on Kane Road before the bridge, going in both directions. Kane Road sign, that we put that up and it got stolen like 5 days later, so I got another one, but that's like the 4th or 5th time it's been stolen like this year alone, so I don't know if there's like a better way to I don't know. They're just ripping it out and ripping the sign off. It's been taking a while, but I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. Just keep putting it up, but they're pretty pricey per sign. Matt took his sewer test. He was 2 under passing, but he's got another test coming up, and I think he'll get it this next time. So he'll have a sewer license pretty soon. We reinforced the screener. We bought steel at Valancourt's, and Seth welded it all up. It's a lot more durable to take the size difference between the backhoe and the loader bucket. We had to shovel out the drying beds at the sewer plant and haul that to Coventry. We did an oil change in service on the 2018. The 2021 had a tire blowout on it, so we had to replace one of the front steer tires. That truck will need a new rim. We drove it back on the rim. It was cheaper than calling a tow truck, I think. Last time we called a tow truck, it was $600, and that was like a scheduled. This was an emergency, so I figured it would have been even more. So I figured the rim was the cheapest option to go.
Where did it blow out?
Like on the tire or location?
Location.
At the turning onto Main Street from 105, right there in that corner. And it was during a snowstorm, so it wasn't like a.
There's no. Town doesn't have a spare. Doesn't have a spare steer tire.
We did. We had one on hand, which was good, but we don't really have like the jacks to go out and do it. All of our jacks are pneumatic. So, the only other option we really had was to go out with a loader and pick it up, but I figured that was a pretty dangerous spot to be messing around with anyway. That hill coming down was icy, and obviously 105 was icy because it was during a snowstorm.
There's no hydraulic jacks and
We have like a little bottle jack, but it won't lift up high enough to get to change a tire. So it was pretty much, yeah, bring the loader over and try to do that, but I thought that was pretty dangerous, so we didn't like that idea. And then tow it or put all the plow equipment down and take some weight off it and bring it back to the shop. So that's what we did. But that day the reason he was coming back to the shop was because his bed chain had broken. So that ended up being a day project to fix that bed chain. It got all wound up inside the motor and everything. It broke the sprockets and shaft and bearings and everything, so we replaced all that. That was 2 weeks ago. Last week, the chain broke again, so we had to spend more time to fix that again. Same truck, I don't know if we did something wrong or if we just had bad luck with it, but it seems to be working good again, so hopefully it holds up. We obviously had that rainstorm the other day. Had a couple trees go down one on East Sheldon and one on Cattell Road. There was a catch basin up on Sheldon Heights, or Forest Heights I guess it is. It was covered in leaves, and all the water was coming from up top and it comes out, goes to that catch basin. But that catch basin was plugged, so the water actually started getting into the road, and it actually started to erode, the road a little bit. But luckily, the guy that lives there called soon enough, so when we got there, it only washed out probably like a foot of his driveway that was starting to work at the pavement. So luckily, we caught that in time. It was just leaves over the catch basin, so hopefully that doesn't happen again, but we'll just have to keep an eye on keeping that one clean. We got new Wi-Fi at the sewer plant and in the garage. So obviously we didn't have it at the sewer plant before, so that's good, and the service at the garage is much better. Or we have it at the sewer plant. Obviously we've been plowing quite a bit. There was quite a bit of snow at the beginning of December and throughout December, and the 350 on Saturday, I was driving it back down 105, turned onto Main Street, and it said, a code came on that said reduce engine power, and it went into limp mode all the way from Main Street until I brought it back to the shop, and shut it off and let it sit for like 10 minutes. Turned it back on and the engine light was on, but the truck had all its power back. I brought it around the loop down there and it had all its power back. But I sent the code, we were able to read the code today on the engine light, and it has something to do with like the boost or intake. I sent it to somebody who works on diesel trucks, and he said that it could possibly be like a cracked hose or something, but Seth took it to Swan to pick up that John Deere paint and didn't have any problems with it, so I don't know what the problem was, but if that engine light comes back on, we probably should bring it to New Car or something, to the dealer. But that's mainly it for the report, and then the projects we have coming up are obviously to keep an eye on the snow and salt and sand the roads. We bought the piston for the steering column on the grader, so we'll probably pull that over into the shop and change the oil and do a service on it and put that piston in when we have time. Got some more brush cutting to do around some of the guardrails. There's some on Sweet Hollow Road and Deer Run I'd like to do. It's tough to see when you're in the big truck with the plow on, so it'd be good to do a little bit more of that. I made a stone log just so we know where the materials, what roads the material's going on and what we're using and why we're using it. I plan to start using that after the first of the year so we can keep track of all of 2026, the stone that we're using. We gotta finish the tool inventory. We started that. It's pretty time consuming with all the VIN numbers and everything that we're putting in. All the, batteries and everything else. Every little tool has a VIN on it that we're trying to get a hold of and put down on paper. We gotta do we gotta order plow parts, some wear and tear parts. We gotta go down to Viking and pick up an order for that. We got a pile of tires that need to be recapped still. I think there's probably like 8 or 9 of them that we can get recapped. And then obviously it depends what the weather does, but we still got some more stuff to do outside and on the roads, but I'm not sure if we'll get warm enough weather at this point to do some of it. But yeah, that's my report for this past month. Looks like we'll be plowing in the morning.
Yeah.
So we need a hydro jack. You need a hydro jack.
Yeah, probably, something that's not pneumatic that we can bring out on the roads and for when that happens again.
Cause you got air on the truck.
I mean, I guess you do.
Yeah, I guess you do. You gotta put a hose on the truck here, and
Yeah, I
there's
guess
the truck would have gone up.
I guess I've never thought of that.
And in farming, you got hoses in all the
No,
trucks.
that's smart, Greg, I never thought of that. You are right.
But that's okay,
No,
that's okay.
I guess now we know, I guess.
Yeah. That's why I got a little short air hose, 20-foot air hose.
Yeah, no,
You can improvise out there.
that's smart, yeah,
And usually you got a little valve on your
There
truck
is.
somewhere.
yeah,
A
right on the air tanks there.
You got usually got a port there somewhere.
Yeah, there's,
Because if your truck goes down, stalls, and then the air goes all out, how do you move it?
yeah,
Same way.
okay. No, it's good to know, I guess I like that.
Oh, you did, like I said, yeah, it's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Regardless, when that one didn't blow, I didn't like the spot, just due to the
That's
weather
right.
and the
That's right.
location.
It's okay.
But, no, that's good information, I guess, that's a good trick.
It's there.
Another thing too, we were talking about it, we'd like to replace that tool bench that's there. It's just some lumber and probably like a stainless steel top. If you guys are okay with that, I planned on doing that after the first of the year when we got our new budget. I don't think it's gonna cost a whole lot, but,
Yeah, it's got like some old roofing material.
yeah, it's like, it's like a galvanized, I don't even know what it is, it's some kind of galvanized metal top.
You're gonna take the historic bench out.
It's a story. I asked Hubert if he built it. He said it was in there before he started.
Yeah, that's right. It's okay.
But,
If you have time,
yeah,
weather permitting,
that's just it.
and some days it's like, let's stay in here and work in the shop. That's a good idea.
Yeah, winter seemed like it started like 3 weeks earlier than it has the last few years, or even a month earlier, really.
Yeah, it might take a month off too.
But, with those brine tanks out in the back too, we also have plenty of room in there now, so, that's the other thing too. And I might have asked, I don't really remember, but I want to, start heating that back half of the garage. We already have the heater back there and it's actually full of fuel right now, but just keep it on a low temperature just for when the backhoe or the loader is out there. Obviously the diesel won't gel up on it if we have a little bit of heat in there.
No, if you can, yeah,
That's fine with you guys, I'd like to start doing that.
keep it at 40.
Yeah, just warm enough, not anything crazy, but
Yep. Yep.
Cause it'd be good to park all the equipment out there. We've been parking the 350 like where the backhoe was. And right now we've been parking the loader where the 350 was, but it'd be nice to have that just open for when we're working on stuff. We can keep all the equipment in like the old fire station, so I'd keep the 350 where the backhoe was.
Yeah.
And leave that one bay right
The
open.
brine tank's going, gives you,
Yeah.
that's right. Very good.
Did we ever get resolution on the mailbox situation with Sweet Hollow?
Well, I guess we.
No, I drove over by your house one day when I was thinking of it. There was no cars in the driveway, so I never knocked on the door or anything. I figured they were home, but
We've had a couple other mailbox incidents.
There's-
There's one, your neighbor on the Colton Road, and I think we're gonna ask if we can move his to the other side of the road, cause I think the mail does get delivered on both sides of the road, and it would be better if the post office would allow us, if we could put it on the same side of the road as his house, we would be less likely to hit it, I think, cause it's on a curve, and if cars come in toward you, it's the inclination to go wide on that curve, and that's, I think, partly why it got hit this year, twice last year, so it's a popular mailbox for
Got a
you,
target on it.
so, anyway.
yeah, as far as the Sweet Hollow, I don't know what we wanna do there. If we want- I guess I can start with trying to talk to her, but I really think the best thing to do is to pull that concrete out of there and just get rid of wooden posts. And we can slide that mailbox over that wooden post and, I don't know, that's my opinion, but.
Ground's got hard.
Yeah.
What's that?
Ground's got hard.
Yeah, it is, so that,
In the
yeah,
meantime, let's just not run into it.
yeah.
I don't know. Some of those mailboxes there in the winter, maybe you should put a post, 10 feet
in front of it.
before the mailbox. That way there.
Get close.
We put a marker on the one that was hit on Colton Road with that one. So,
Yeah, I know all about that one. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. We had quite a bit of snow there at one point and it's all gone now, but I think the trouble is when you go to wing back your shoulders to try to make more room, and I think you just,
Well,
yeah, I don't know. It's not a big deal what happens.
I know where the mailbox is. Yeah, I don't know. The post office there doesn't care if it's beside their driveway. They wouldn't have to cross the road to get their mail.
Yeah, safer.
Yeah.
So, yeah, there's mailboxes on both sides of the road there. Okay.
That's all it was to do, all post office.
Huh.
But it looks like there's some snow coming in the forecast, so we'll probably have our hands full this week again and
2-3 inches.
we had a couple days off of winter, but I think we'll come right back, so. Other than that, that's all I have for this month.
Okay. Merry Christmas.
You as
Yeah.
well.
Merry Christmas.
Thank you.
Alright, thank you.
Well, it's all right here. Got that on there.
That's your library trustee.
Meeting minutes, all right,
If anybody's interested, here's the sheriff's report.
Alright, this is the Town of Sheldon Select Board Commission regular meeting from December 8th of 2025, held here at the town office at 7:30. In attendance from the select board, Maria Davison, Stephen Dodd, and Richard Piazzi. Others here are Matthew Stebbins, our town administrator, and Jerry Vasey from Northwest Access TV. 7:39, called the meeting to order and read the agenda. Added to the agenda was a review of the town clerk's report. At 7:40, the board took up renewal of the $300,000 tax anticipation note, line of credit with People's Trust. The renewal is for 1 year at a fixed rate of 2.25% with maturity on December 13th of 2026. This year, the line of credit was used to pay for the salt shed project. The remaining balance will be rolled into a 2-year note at a 2.75% fixed interest. Richard P.E.G made a motion to renew the line of credit with People's Trust Company, seconded by Maria Davison. The motion carried with all in favor. 7:43, the board took up a request from Taylor Quinton regarding wastewater permit fees. The town administrator explained that Quinton is seeking compensation from the town for fees due to a corrective wastewater permit. The original wastewater permit listed an incorrect E911 address, which was provided to the engineer by the town assessor. However, the assessor was merely relaying information provided on the property transfer tax return filed when the property was sold. And for that reason, the town attorney is advising the town is not at fault. The board agreed with the opinion of the town attorney. The E911 coordinator will issue a letter on behalf of the town. 7:49, Matt delivered the town administrator's report. He reviewed his recent discussions with the town attorney, including the Historical Society property brownfield study and Sheldon School property. Matt noted that there has been some time since certain questions regarding property taxes appeared on the town meeting warning, such as the due date, the option to payment in installments, and the delinquent interest rate. The highway department is obtaining quotes for fuel prices, and the town will apply for a refund of the federal excise taxes paid on fuel. And the salt shed is completed. 8:12, I read the minutes from the November 24th meeting, and the board signed warrants 2537 and 31710. Maria moved to adopt the minutes as read, seconded by Dirk, and the motion carried. 8:20, the board took up a review of the town purchasing policy. Matt noted that the current policy should include more detail regarding which employees are authorized to make purchases and in what amounts. Policy should also create separate procedures for purchases using grant funds. Matt will draft a new policy using the current VLCT model.
Thank you.
8:30, the board took up a review of the town personnel policy. The board had previously discussed combining paid time off into a single package, and Matt shared a draft plan of how the policy might work. Per his discussion with the town attorney, comp time would be separate from paid time off. 8:53, the board reviewed the town clerk's report and discussed plans for the 2026 town report. 8:58, Rick moved to adjourn the meeting, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. Special meetings will be held at 12:30 Thursday, December 11th for the Bridge 11 presentation, and Thursday, December 18th for budget. Next regular meeting is Monday, December 24th. You got that date wrong.
Oh, yes, I did.
You were thinking of Christmas earlier. It's the 22nd. 22nd. At 7:30 at the town office. And the Bridge 11 meeting wasn't a meeting, it was a presentation because we didn't have a quorum. So we just listened to the state presentation. I'll take a motion to accept these minutes as read.
I'll make a motion.
Alright, second on that.
Yep.
In favor? Yeah, I've got Town of Sheldon Select Board Water Commissioner special meeting from December 18th 2025, held here at 12:30, town office. In attendance from the select board was Maria Davison, Stephen Dodd, Gregory Stebbins. Others here were Amanda Forbes, town consultant, and Hunter Kerouac, the highway foreman, Jane Lonza, the clerk treasurer, and Matt Stebbins, town administrator. 12:50, I called the meeting to order and read the agenda. Added to the agenda was an approval of warrant 31711. 12:51, the board took up discussion of the 2026 highway department budget. Matt provided a draft report showing the highway expenditures for 2025. Board set proposed spending levels for 2026 to be reviewed at a subsequent budget meeting. 2:05, the board signed payroll warrant 31711. 2:07, Greg moved to adjourn the meeting, seconded by Maria, and the motion carried. Make a motion to accept these minutes as read.
So,
Second on that,
I'll second that.
all in favor, aye.
Aye.
Sorry. What do you got for us tonight, Bob?
Okay, so, one thing I'd like to bring your attention to is that, so Jane and I have, been working to fix some payroll issues over the last month. And unfortunately, in doing so, I think we may have inadvertently caused another one that is evident on the payroll warrant that you have tonight. One thing that I had found in looking through the payroll was that for some reason it looked like for a couple of our Seth's employment, the way it's set up in the network system, Seth was fine, but both Matt and Hunter's the setup of their how they were entered into the payroll system had some mistakes, and one of those mistakes, for some reason, Hunter's contributions to Gamers were being taxed for Social Security, and so he had paid a fair amount of taxes over the year on that, and in the December payroll, we rectified that by paying him back the amounts that he'd been charged for taxes. Unfortunately, it looks like, so Nemrick applied a fix on that payroll in December, but when Jane ran the payroll today, Nemrick had not taken that off, and so now it has caused an issue with his payroll this evening that I didn't see until I was looking at the warrant after Jane had left today, so, he's, for some reason, in this payroll, he's, got quite a lot of, withheld tax. So we owe him some money that, anyway, so we may have to do a special warrant to fix that, tomorrow.
okay.
Yeah, so, anyway, it was a good thing to have done, it's just and Jane did her process and sent it off to Nemrick, but Nemrick forgot to take off the fix that we applied last payroll, and that caused an issue, anyway. Another issue that we fixed in this payroll was that, and now Jane and I are gonna, from when I was hired, Kim always just did the payroll herself, and then when Jane came on board, she took over doing that, and, we have in the last, as we've been reviewing some of this stuff, Jane and I said, it's, for the accounts payable, there's a lot of, Demetrius puts it into the system, Jane sees it, and she finishes the warrant. And Amanda also reviews it as well, so we've got several different eyes going on thing. Demetrius is reconciling the bank, statements, but for payroll, for some reason, has always been basically the clerk, treasurer doing that. And so Jane and I have, come up with a thing where I will, basically, she's gonna do input, but then I'm gonna review it before she sends the posting to the bank. And we did that today, but as I said, the bad problem was something that Nemrick did, not something that Jane did. But anyway, when we were reviewing that today, I noticed that that there was another issue, which is that the overtime comp time had not been taken out of the right category the last 2 times that they've earned it. So they had done overtime work, and instead of the hours being deducted from the hours to be converted to comp time, instead of being deducted from the overtime that they earned, was being taken out of their regular hours. So that amounted to the town overpaid 700 slightly on the last 2 on the warrant in the beginning of December and the end of November. So we corrected that in this payroll. So anyway, I think we have to call Nemrick and get this Hunter's current payroll fixed tomorrow, and I will have to get a hold of some of you to possibly, I think that could be a paper, if I could get 3 signatures on that warrant, just so we can get that taken care of, that would be good. Yeah, but other than that, I think we've set up correctly, and we shouldn't have more of these issues in the future, because we've got it so that there's multiple eyes on each thing.
Do you want signatures tomorrow?
Or as soon as possible thereafter, but.
Before the end of the year.
Before the end of the year, yes.
Yeah, I can come back tomorrow.
Yeah.
I don't
So, another good thing is, I think I mentioned this at a budget meeting, and I may have mentioned it at the previous meetings. Amanda, has gone back over the last, 3 years and submitted a tax form for the town to be reimbursed for the excise taxes that we paid.
Yeah.
So that's gonna amount to a little bit more than $6,000,
Awesome.
yeah, that's it, so that's a good thing. Jane and I, and we should, as soon as the new year occurs, I think we can go back and get the receipts for this year, that once it's done, so. And then every year after that, we can, at the end of the year, apply to get those taxes are applied before it even gets to Blue Ends, so.
Yeah.
We have scheduled our auditors to come on January 9th, which in theory, hopefully will allow for the short report to be received back so we can put it in the book. And I told Jane that if we, for whatever reason, don't receive it before then, we should just stipulate in the book that they will be received by such and such a date, and they'll be able to be reviewed, which will still be before town meeting. So, hopefully, if that process goes as well as it did last year, it shouldn't be an issue. But anyway, we just wanted to make sure that we're sending people the information they need. As Hunter mentioned, Fidium has done the upgrade at the town garage and at the sewer plant.
That's working.
So as far as I know, it seems to be working. They just did I think they did the sewer plant on Friday, and they just did the garage this morning, so. But, it is a pretty big upgrade in Boulder. Obviously, they didn't have any internet at the sewer before, but. I just wanted to give you a little update. I heard back from, the, Cattell estate, and owns the trailer park across, over on the other side of the creek here, and they have gone in there and cleaned up, the mess with the abandoned trailers over there, and, they were, helpful for the town's cooperation. They were glad that the town did intervene when we decided not to, and I talked to the neighbors who had complained about it, and they seemed happy with the situation, so.
Okay.
That seems to have resolved itself. Similarly, the issue with, that we had just heard about in the minutes with the wastewater permit, we sent the letter out, and that seems to have resolved itself, Dave. I think they're able to update I'm not sure if they're still having to pay for a new permit, or if the state has agreed to just issue it without a fee, but they're not. there's no issue with the town there.
Okay.
The library has completed their budget. Actually, I think that they're asking for not a little bit less than they did last year, pretty much the same amount. I heard back that our application for the municipal planning grant was not awarded. That was where we were hoping to get sewer mapping done and an asset plan. However, the contractor that we had talked to about that, they have some other grant funding and they would be willing to do, it sounds like we could work with them, the funding they have to get the mapping done at least, and maybe perhaps not developing the asset plan, but at least getting the mapping done.
Yeah.
So I'm working with NRPC to get that in place. And then if maybe, in terms of the asset plan, that might be something that we can follow up with Otter Creek to work on, or a firm like that. I guess following up on with what Hunter had let you know about, there was this stormwater issue up on Sheldon Heights, and he asked me, and I did not really know the answer. There's quite a bit of stormwater infrastructure up there, and he wanted to know how much of that was the town's responsibility to maintain. I figured that the catch basin in the town highway might be our responsibility, but there's a retention pond and a culvert and all that, and I'm not really sure if that's the homeowners association's responsibility, but I didn't know if the select board would
Is
know.
that part of the road infrastructure? I don't.
Yeah, well, I can figure that out, it's just something.
The catch basin in the road, that's ours.
Right, that's what I figured, but it's connected to a bigger system of things, and so I think Hunter was just kind of wanted to know how much of it he had to worry about. But I guess I can contact the homeowners association and find out, so.
Probably not much to worry about.
Yeah. And, last thing is I'm gonna take a couple days of vacation here around the holiday. And I think that the town clerk's also gonna be closed Wednesday and Friday this week, and Wednesday and Friday next week also. And so I'm gonna take Wednesday, Friday, and next Monday off. And then we'll be back for the new year.
There you go.
Okay? Questions?
Taking the holiday.
Right, that's right.
I think 2 of them are now federal holidays now,
Yeah.
aren't they?
Yeah.
Splurging there.
Did you talk to the lady on the bridge stuff, or she just sent you this?
Oh, yeah, so I'm sorry, I should have
Laura.
highlighted that. So they sent me their notes from the meeting.
Yeah.
And just to recap that, presentation for the board members who weren't there, the state, as you might recall, the state was recommending that we replace this, a complete replacement of the bridge down here, but once we got into the discussion of it, it became evident that one of the main factors that they was weighing in their recommending to replace it is because the town plan currently calls for there to be 2 sidewalks on that bridge. And they couldn't make the bridge that wide if they just replaced the deck. If they could make the lanes wider and have 1 sidewalk on it, so the lanes could be brought up to standard and maintain the current sidewalk, but they couldn't add a whole other sidewalk onto it.
Right.
And there were a couple other issues, it would be better aligned, and they would get rid of the piers down below, but the piers and abutments are probably in the best shape for all the things on the bridge, so, and I think Steve asked the question about why the cost of doing the deck and the I-beam to support it was, I believe that would cost the town somewhere between $100,000 and $175,000, and they would estimate that would get us 40 years of service life. Whereas if we did a complete replacement of the bridge, it would cost the town something like $400,000, and they were only estimating that it would give us 75 years of service life. So Steve was kinda, I think, asking about the value proposition there, and anyway, they said that if the town plan did not call for 2 sidewalks and, I think, and if that was not a factor, they would have just recommended only replacing the deck on the bridge. So, and it's up to the town which option the town chooses. And then the other thing that influences the cost there is which strategy the town wants to implement while the project's going on. So do we wanna have a detour only? Do we wanna have a temporary bridge? Or do we wanna do 1 lane at a time on the bridge? Obviously, 1 lane at a time is the most expensive. Building a temporary bridge is the next expensive, and having a detour is the least expensive. And actually the town's share of the cost goes down with each of those. If I guess the other good news about if we only replace the deck and the superstructure, then you're talking about a bridge closure of, about a month or even less than a month, as opposed to if you're gonna replace the entire bridge, then you're gonna be closing it for most of the construction season.
Yeah, they figured they could do it one construction season.
Right.
But if you do just the superstructure and the deck, our share is 2.5% if you close the road off.
Right,
Which
you just
is-
have a detour, right,
But if you do the whole bridge replacement, it's 5.
right.
And the cost is, what was it?
Yeah, I wanna say it was, the reports are actually behind you there, Steve, but I think the cost was over 400,000 for the share.
Yeah, our share.
Sounds like one sidewalk's enough.
So if we change our town plan, would that change their recommendation?
I'm not sure if it requires us changing the town plan, it's just that
I think we just don't put one sidewalk.
right, that if the town decides that, you know what, we'd rather, it's up to the select board to decide what they wanna do with the bridge, and if you decide you wanna move forward with only 1 sidewalk on the bridge, yes, it's out of compliance with the town plan, but it's, the town can make those decisions.
There's not that many pedestrians.
Right.
Yeah,
That's the thing, there's nothing, used to be stores and town halls and the school,
Yeah.
and now there's no whole,
Yeah,
I mean, 1 sidewalk would be sufficient.
the whole school used to come down, walk across the bridge and up to the town hall.
And a full bridge replacement would require
Back in the
longer
day.
construction.
We'd all walk it.
I mean,
Yeah, so
does
there's,
the sidewalk even extend after the Griswold Park on the other side?
We just walked over there, what the hell I was walking on?
No, I mean currently though, we don't have sidewalk on the other side of the bridge, right?
No, not that I know about. Whatever, just to,
So,
it's very realistic that if a bridge, yeah, had 1 sidewalk and 2 lanes were a little wider, it'd be just fine.
Anyways,
anyway,
that's
so,
our alternative, so. But they kinda said that we can wait and give them an answer after town meeting, so it's something we wanna put in to discuss with
Town?
town people or.
No.
and Greg, you had asked why the state had chosen this bridge, and I think their answer was that the town had chosen it. That they just do what the town the town through the regional planning commission chooses which bridges are prioritized. And I guess when originally the Bouchard Bridge was put on the list, and then the town, the select board at that time decided to change the priority to this bridge, and so that's the answer to that. It's not the bridge
Both bridges need to be worked on.
Right.
Right. And that's it, and as I mentioned, we have, I think about $235,000 in the bridge fund now, which would cover, if we did do the, just the deck replacement, the town has sufficient funds now to do the match for that project.
That's the easiest one to do.
Whereas if we did, a full replacement, the town would have to be saving some money for the, more aggressively saving money for that.
Borrowing,
Or borrowing money,
Yeah, and what was it, 2032?
Right now, I believe it's on the schedule for 2030.
30, okay.
Yeah, but that's notwithstanding, weather events, other things that can happen to the state
Right.
budget.
could have a catastrophic failure on the North Sheldon Bridge.
Yeah,
Who knows?
that could happen.
Yeah, truck could, yeah. Yeah, and a lot of things can happen. That sounds like a plan to me. Change the
But,
dates.
It sounds like we should get in touch with, if the select board wants to,
Read. That's the report they came up
if the select board wants the state to also look at the North Sheldon Bridge, I can find out where it is on the schedule right now, but it sounds like we need to get in touch with regional planning and have them put it on their priority list, or try to get it onto the priority list that they forward to the state.
Yeah,
Well, the bridge would look aesthetically a lot better if it was replaced, the deck. It does have a tired look to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would it be, would they come in and check the concrete pillars under there before?
I think so,
We made
yes,
a
they would,
decision.
yeah. So there would be some, once you said, okay, we wanna move forward with this, then there would be some preliminary design work that
So
they
if
would
we,
incur.
if we told them we'd like to go ahead with just the superstructure deck replacement,
Yeah,
then, and they came in and said, well, those pillars are in worse shape than we thought,
mhm.
can you
When we change
reverse direction and say, okay, well, if it's gonna be all that mess, then we'll just do a whole new bridge?
Yeah, I don't know about that, Steve, I would assume so, cause I don't think the
Well-
state would put money into it if they knew that it was
Right.
throwing good money after bad, so, yeah.
They're just talking about smashing all the concrete out and they're not talking about ripping the steel out.
Well,
No,
you could do one
they-
or the other, you could do both.
If we're doing just the deck and the superstructure, all that concrete staying there. They
The
said-
piers, yeah.
The piers, yeah, and all that,
Yeah.
right.
But I'm saying if those
Right.
piers are not sufficient for,
Yeah.
the 40-year lifespan,
Yeah,
then it would be stupid to throw a new deck on there, if they're gonna have to throw a bunch of money into those piers, because if you went with the whole new bridge, they're taking those piers out of there. It's gonna be a single span.
I see.
Alright, I can follow up with them
But
about that specific
I was
question,
just-
Steve.
I mean, you must have to do some research on it before you start building them.
Yeah. And I think there were some questions that we asked during the meeting that they said, we can't answer those because that's something we would be looking at once the
Yeah.
project moved forward and begin the design.
yeah, they had like ratings on all of them as far as like what grade they got.
Oh, I have those there's a binder over there that has the inspection report as well. And there's a copy of that in there.
Yeah,
Okay.
but underneath, that's called the substructure, those?
Yeah, that would be the piers.
The
and
piers,
piles, yeah.
okay, yeah,
I
those
think
are,
that's the highest rated part of the bridge, so, compared to the,
yeah, those are 6 as a satisfactory, there's the channel rating,
that's
that's
the,
8, that's very good, that's like
that's where the stream goes
the
through.
river, yeah, okay. Yeah, the deck rating was 5, it was a fair. That's,
Blocking the
yes.
fish, so all set.
Yeah,
Alright, we've got a loan agreement, promissory note, disbursement request of authorization. It needs some approval and signature. Business loan agreement is for a principal amount of $43,478.04. Loan date of 12/22/24. 5, maturity at 12/22 of 27. So it's a 2-year loan. Da-da-da.
Sounds alright.
The promissory note is for that same principal amount, the same maturity. Loan number 76641. You promise to pay back this money at an interest rate of 2.75. Payment will be in two payments of $22,652.38. And first payment is due on December 22nd of 2026. So a year from now, and the final payment will be due 2 years from now, December 22nd of 27. Straightforward, I guess. 2-year loan, 2.75% interest.
That's a voted article, so you can just sign it away.
Okay, we don't need a motion on that.
I think we should take a motion on it.
Okay.
Make a motion.
Make a motion, yeah.
Alright, second on that.
Second,
All in favor?
Aye.
what was it? Didn't hurt.
No.
And then at the bottom of that stack, there's quite a rainbow. That's the, what did I say? Banking resolution, just renewing, naming all the officers and who's authorized to do what.
Alright, then we got a disbursement request and authorization. Automatic payments.
Yeah, I'm not sure,
Treat you.
they did send us some paperwork about automatically paying the bill. I'm not sure if we wanna do that or if we just want to.
Borough understands that no loan proceeds will be dispersed until all lender's conditions for making the loan have been satisfied. Please disperse the proceeds as follows.
Jeez, girl.
Got that one.
Many ones we got here, anyway. This one, huh?
What do you got here?
They give out our personal information now?
So,
We just need to sign this.
yeah, so that's the resolution that is just naming the officers and what they're authorized to do with regard to the bank accounts at the People's Trust.
Yep.
And there's actually, unfortunately, there's 2 sheets because Nick's name doesn't fit on the sheet with,
It's my fault.
so, anyway, you're gonna sign it in 3 places, I think, Steve, so. Everywhere there's a blue line is for you, Steve, and then,
Okay.
Well, there you go.
you're yellow, Greg, and,
Sure.
and Nick is orange and Maria's pink, so.
Fully organized.
Okay.
On the right line, Greg.
That's what all.
Alright.
Well,
That should take,
well, they already got the printing here, all done for us. That's some. Which goddamn one in my own. That one is that, and that's okay.
I tried to point directly at the line, so.
Yeah. I don't think it goes in a whole lot. Take you back. You got more? Here you go. Knock yourself out.
2 pages just because of me, might as well.
I don't know. We get through that.
So, how's the budget looking?
Oh, right.
How you coming up with the numbers for most everything now?
I think, I do have, what we had penciled in for the highway here, if anybody wants that, on our last meeting. I don't have all, I was hoping to get all the categories in here, but I don't have that yet, so this is what we had penciled in for the highway, the last meeting, but,
No, I got mine right here.
Um,
Shoot.
but we do, I did forget to put on the agenda is that we need to set, when we'd like to have a next budget meeting.
you think one more, no,
I think one more should do it, because I've received the things from the library, we've gone through. I should have most of the numbers that we were missing at the first meeting.
Yeah. Then we can do some budget cutting.
Right,
slashing,
Slashing, oh.
that's right,
slashing.
so, yes,
So,
one more.
Or whatever, you know.
what do you got here? This calendar's dead.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I've got the.
Well, that's all right, I just.
Here you go, Steve.
What are we looking for a date here? We got, books gotta go out by when?
I have it on,
End of
31st, that we need to have everything done.
31st of
January.
Yeah.
Okay, so we got all kinds of time.
Yeah, but if we do the meeting early, that way if we do run into some snags, we could come back.
Not our fault, not our fault.
Right, but, where are we?
Your first meeting is January 12th, your regular meeting, so I don't know if you wanted to meet before then, or.
It's late.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Could we do, that week before?
The first week, or the first full week of January is the 5th
Yeah.
through the 9th. And
5th
I
through
don't
the
know if there's a particular day of the week. So we've been meeting on Thursday afternoons, but if that works for everybody. So that would, Thursday the 8th would be,
Is that what time, noon?
we've been meeting at 12:30, but it could be earlier or later than that.
Oh,
It's been closer to 1 really, but obviously by, I know Maria usually has to leave around 3, so can't be too much later than that. So.
Yeah, I mean, I can make arrangements if it needs to be longer.
Oh, I hope not.
Yeah, I think if, let's shoot for 12:30 and then
12:30 on January 8th.
January 8th.
Okay. And then,
Let's see if we can get it pretty close to buttoned up.
okay.
And then maybe you could have it, so we could review it at our next, that select board meeting right after that.
Right.
Sure.
And then,
Sounds good.
because we're gonna have to work on some warning stuff.
Right, as well, yeah.
I guess we'll see how that budget meeting goes, but we could do it that select board meeting.
Ideas for one in there? No.
Well, we've had a few different conversations about some things that have come up, like one being, there are some questions that we have not asked very frequently that other towns do ask more frequently, such as like, when do you want, we always ask if the treasurer can collect the taxes, but we haven't voted on like what day people want to pay their taxes on, or do they want to
Most
have
people don't.
installments, or,
They'd rather not.
Right.
Yeah, February
Well, you gotta
30th.
We're gonna pay it before December 1st. Anyway, there are some questions like that we could entertain, but we can save that for that meeting.
Okay. It's, policy.
Yeah, so I have a draft procurement policy for you here. It's based on the current League of Cities and Town model. I have a copy of our existing policy here with me somewhere, or maybe I put it there. This is our existing policy, which is only 3 pages long. It's a little hard to read, but it's there. But our current policy, as we discussed last time, really only, it sort of sets a minimum threshold of $5,000, after which the town is supposed to get bids for things. And it's sort of, those are the two, you know, there's under $5,000 and there's over $5,000, and that's pretty much it. And the model policy has gotten a lot more technical since then. I'll go through it real quick here, but the only thing I have not put in here is specific amounts that you, and I figured I would ask you about those, but in general, so starting on page 2, it defines, under policy organizations, there's 3 sections. One is the requirements that apply to any purchase. Second are requirements that are when the town is expending only its own funds. And the third are when the town is expending state or federal funds. So in general, when the town is spending state or federal funds, the language is always that the most, whatever is the most restrictive policy that applies will be followed. So then there's some definitions about the terms used in here. The general procurement requirements are the first issue for us to identify would be if there are specific officers or employees that you'd like to designate as procurement agents. Right now, the town clerk acts as a procurement agent, and to a certain extent, the road foreman does. I have occasionally done, although not many things, but that would be the first thing for you to determine is if there are other, I don't know if we would wanna possibly, just given our relationship with the fire department, if maybe we should be designating someone from the fire department to be doing procurement on their behalf, because they essentially do spend money and then send us the invoices, so.
Yeah.
So then on page 4 is the beginning of the list of things that have to do with when we're only spending town money. I should go back to the list of agents, you can also describe a dollar amount that you want to limit them to using, or if you just want to say it's limited to whatever budgeted item, whatever the item is budgeted for. There, you can use whatever language you want there, or you can just designate who the people are. Let the policy dictate the levels of how much they are limited to. So, it talks about certain vendors and contracts may not work on projects using federal funds, but if it's solely municipal funds, that wouldn't necessarily apply. Requires documentation and the records be retained. So the first, on page 4, there's, I would like the board to decide some dollar amounts that they'd like to set in terms of what would be incidental purchases that agents could make up to that dollar amount without prior approval of the board. And then purchases that the agents could make with prior approval of the board. And then major purchases that would require a competitive bidding structure. And then on page 5, there's a provision for recurring purchases, so that would be like our road salt, for example, would be a good example there, where each load is gonna cost the town, $2,000, but altogether it adds up to quite a lot more than that. If there's a provision for emergency purchases where if there's an emergency, we don't necessarily have to follow the procurement plan. Bid process may be waived if there is a separate process where the selection of providers for services that are characterized by a high degree of professional judgment is used. And then finally, there's a sole source section, which is also included in the current policy, that if the select board determines there's only one source for a purchase, for example, the electricity at this building, then it doesn't have to follow this policy. Alright, and then there's the whole section on procurement using state or federal funds, which in general, we must adhere to open and competitive bidding. All these are pretty much all standard provisions of state and federal contracts. There is a provision here if the town wants to reference its own cost principles. We could stipulate that. I think we would probably just use the federal cost principles for any grant that we were using. Again, bonding requirements, pass-through requirements, pre-positioned vendors. Alright. Again, in the case, on the bottom of page 7, it says, in the case of purchases made using federal funds, if state law or the town's supplemental policies conflict with federal requirements, the stricter of the two must be applied. So, right. So on page 8, there's a couple of more situations where you can designate some levels here. So purchases of up to an aggregate up to a certain dollar amount would be micro purchases, which would be subject to federal wage requirements. So we'd like to set a number for that. The small purchases, this is sort of similar to the category when the town is spending its own money. You could set situations where different parts of the purchasing policy would be operable. So the large purchases would be aggregate total value of exceeding a certain amount using any, where construction projects here would be in a separate section. And then there's procurement by sealed bid, which would be the very large projects of at least somewhere on the order of hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Paving.
What's that? Yeah, so paving would be up there, or a bridge project or something.
Paving bids,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, so,
Alright.
these are, so I guess I'll go back to page, 3.
So, you're saying the fire department, they are basically using town money, right? they make purchases, so they should adhere by all these requirements too, right?
Right, that is a,
So
An
if
issue,
we
yeah.
put in a agent for them, they need a copy of this and so
yes, I
they're,
would think that would be necessary.
yeah,
Well, I know the situation with the fire department is, a little different because they are obviously a separate organization and the town has kind of an agreement with them, but functionally, the way that a lot of their expenses are paid, it's not like they pay the expenses and then they send us a bill for, an invoice for it. A lot of those, they just bring us the invoice directly from the vendor and the town's paying for it. And so, it would be, in general,
but
they
it's no different than the highway department.
Correct, yeah,
They bring an invoice in and say pay it,
right, exactly.
so I mean, I guess they should,
Yeah, so
which isn't a big deal. I mean,
right, and generally speaking, you know, if there is, I can't think of anything in particular, but, if there are, they generally spend the budget on, they spend the money on things that they have stipulated in the budget.
Right, so,
Within the parameters of the budget.
Right,
so
so,
it wouldn't be a big deal, but we should have a name in there
right,
as one of the agents for their budget, just in case something comes up that they need to.
right, yeah.
So we're following the rules, I guess.
Right, and then specifically if they, you know, if, I mean, I don't think it would come up, but if there was some major purchase that they felt they needed to make that wasn't included in any of the budget categories.
Like a fire truck.
Right, yeah, exactly,
Right,
or
yeah,
whatever,
that
obviously that
goes-
would go to a different
Right.
process, right?
Yeah.
So I think we should designate, again, the town clerk, the highway foreman, myself,
under
if you
the
want,
direction of-
and
Well, you take
at
like-
least one person from the fire department.
Well, the foreman there can direct direct the other employees to
Right.
pick up stuff in town.
Right, yeah, that's correct,
Just like they do now.
right.
Yeah,
But,
so I'd say
Hmm?
highway foreman, town clerk, the fire, I don't know, fire chief or whoever wants to be responsible for that down there. I would say it'd be under the chief.
Arrangements.
And then, yeah, I know, but you know, he can do that, but authorized by the chief.
That's right.
and then,
The library doesn't have any major purchases or,
well, they do, that's another question where, maybe we could designate the, I mean, in general, they tend to refer things to the clerk and she, you know, she buys things for them, but in a way, they could, if they wanted to have
I'm
a
just
separate
thinking,
account and do
you know,
things that way, the librarian would be another person that I think we could stipulate on here that could be authorized. Again, as long as it's within budgeted accounts that they are responsible for. Obviously, the librarian can't approve, you know, road salt for,
Right,
you know,
yeah.
right, so,
There you go.
so I could put that down. Okay, and then, again, I don't know if you want, some towns do set specific dollar amounts that each
well, I think,
person's able to approve, but as I said, later in the
Think you've
document,
got
it kind of
that.
sets that structure.
yeah, I think we go right into this, the categories and requirements here.
Right. Yeah, so on page 4, so there'd be incidental purchases would be, an amount up to which you'd be, the designated agents could make purchases without, you know, prior approval of the select board.
What did we have in the old?
Sorry,
We didn't break down, it doesn't, I don't see where it says like micro purchases.
No.
Yeah, there's
incidental.
that-
It would just say if you're gonna spend over $5,000 on something, you need approval for that.
yeah, that was that budget was kind of $5,000 under and over.
Well,
For bids.
Yeah, right,
it
and
was
so,
just to clarify if you're buying something major, you had to, you know, you had to have more than one bid and whatever. But, well, What do you think on the money amounts and those?
Well, I thought that, for incidental purchases, I thought somewhere between, $500 and $2,000 maybe, I don't know. That's sort of the range I was thinking of, but. But I guess these are the amounts of the individual purchases as opposed to an aggregate amount, so.
Yeah. Just put $1,000 in there. That cover most everything.
I think that would be acceptable.
I mean, I can't think of incidental purchase. The only incidental purchase I can think of would fall under emergency unless they're just picking up something to finish a job in town, so.
Right. And again,
Emergency is covered by like services that would, substantially impair the delivery of essential municipal services.
right, so these are supposed to be on things that remain within scope and limits of the approved budget, so this is, well, in Hunter's case, to say that they need a jack broke or something like that is an emergency
Tires.
situation, or tires or something like that, yeah.
Plow parts,
Right, these sorts
he's
of,
gonna spend more than $1,000 on.
right, so some of those are, well,
What's
some of those would be under.
Minor versus incidental versus
That's
major.
Yeah,
Yeah, some of those would be under the recurring purchases, so
That's
like
right.
Viking, we're gonna spend a certain amount of money with them every year. And they're kind of all under one contract, but,
I guess, do we need incidental if we just can do major and minor?
Yeah, I was gonna say somebody.
What's the difference
The
between
more we keep
incidental
parsing this
versus?
out, then it just makes it more.
Yeah, you can-
well, I guess the minor are supposed to be the amount that they're allowed to spend if the select board's been consulted before, so. So when Seth would ask to borrow, rent equipment for a project or something that we may or may not have discussed before, that would be a good example of a situation where there was
right.
a major purchase that was made, but was pursuant to a discussion we had with the select board. As opposed to, an incidental purchase would be, again, like, we needed a
tool for
a
a shop.
tool, right, exactly, and it was within the budget, and it was, it was provided for in the budget, and you don't need to necessarily ask, every time to do that, but if we're gonna rent an expensive piece of equipment or something like that, that's outside of,
Sure, $1,000.
alright, so.
1, 3, and 5.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Sure, okay.
So,
How much did it cost when we rented for the week long with the brush?
the brush, that was,
3,200.
that was more,
32?
yeah, that was more, yeah.
Would something like that be considered a minor or major purchase?
Well, but that wasn't a purchase of
That
it.
was a
Yeah,
rental, and
It's kind of like a service.
that was a
Yeah.
rental, and
Usually there's discussion with the board there
Yeah.
that came in that, and that's like a once every 2 years or 3 years thing, so it's
Right.
not, the tire,
well, we bought the lawnmower this year, for example, so that was, obviously the board had priorly approved that, but we brought that to, he got, multiple quotes on that and brought it to you, you guys approved it before we went and made the purchase. So that was about $8,000, so that's kind of a good example of we didn't need to put that out for sealed bids. We could have, I guess, but, I'm not sure if it was necessary in that situation, so that's kind of an example of I'm not sure it's a minor purchase, but it's an example of a purchase that even though we had talked about it and it was in the budget, it wouldn't have been acceptable for the
It's a minor purchase compared to buying a new truck,
Right,
so it's,
so for minor purchases, I don't know if you wanna put in, between 2 and $10,000 or 1 and $10,000, something like that.
Yeah,
We can, if this is not working out, we can always revisit it, so, and then purchases over $10,000 would be considered major, and we would,
as far as like, to prove it,
yeah, require either,
Bid process?
would we wanna require a bid process, or whether it would be used for specific major purchases such as construction projects, so. So
Yes,
for situations like the paving bids and bigger projects like that, we should,
usually get paid, man.
yeah,
You can. Sometimes you ask for a bid and you don't get any information. So you do your best to do, yeah.
yeah, I don't know if we need sealed bids, but we should require, you know, competitive quotes.
Well, I used to come down here and bid the pavement. I'd throw an envelope on the table, so much a ton. Yeah, and we didn't necessarily take a low bid. We took what we thought we were gonna get the best job with.
Best value?
That's right. You know. And the timeline that,
All that paving stuff, they can estimate tonnage and be way off, and,
That's right.
you know,
you can move way off and this and that, and
it's always a price per ton.
then their timeline too. Well, we aren't gonna be here till, you know, Halloween. Well, we're not, yeah.
Right.
A lot of factors. Not just money.
alright, so I guess,
This is just the authorization to make purchases when they need to ask, when they don't need to ask.
That's right.
Elevation, so.
alright, yeah.
Right, and I think that the town employees have done a good job with that over the years. Hey, you know, they're kind of overall, right?
Yeah.
And really,
So I mean, whatever you stop the incidental at is where the miner's gotta pick up.
Right, yeah,
So if Steve says it's 1,000 on incidentals, then minor needs to be as soon as you get over $1,000 to the next dollar amount.
yeah. So I was,
So. You wanna do 1, then 1 to 10, and anything over 10 requires a bid process?
Yeah.
sure.
Sure. Where'd you get the definitions from on this?
these were all came straight from, League of Cities and Towns, it's, yeah.
So they have a list of pre-qualified contractors that have been evaluated?
I think it's so that's a process that the town could use instead of, sorry,
That was just my own curiosity. I saw
Yeah.
that pre-qualified contractors have been evaluated and determined to be qualified to perform work based on capabilities. And I'm like, evaluated by who?
So
Well, like the sewer project, that was all the guy from
Right.
Otter Creek there, he
Mhm.
pre-evaluated them all for us.
Okay.
yeah, so this is not saying that the VLCT has done any of this stuff, it's just defining what it means by pre-positioned contract. So sometimes instead of putting out a request for proposals, you'll put out a request for qualifications. And then you'll narrow it down to, okay, now we found 3 firms that we've agreed are qualified to do this work.
Right.
And we're just gonna send out to the 3 of those bids. And then you don't have to put out a request for bids and be getting them from every Tom, Dick and Harry. You've already evaluated which firms you think are qualified to do the work, and you accept the bids from those firms and you decide which one you like.
Right.
So that's different. It's a separate, you could use a slightly different process depending on what project you're doing.
Well, that's what I was wondering about, like big projects. I was like, okay, does that apply to, you know, like when we paid Jetty to do the landscape or the
Right.
excavation at the site? Like, just my own curiosity, I guess.
Well, the town could develop and part of that is that the town could develop a list of vendors that, we've established through, a long relationship with the town. Like, so for example, Matt Bouchard's been doing our IT services for a long time, so the town might, as a part of it, if we wanted to do a big computer upgrade or something, say that we consider him a pre-positioned person, because he already knows everything about our computer system. I'm not sure that we'll use that sort of process too often, but we could. Recurring purchases, so I would say that if the total value of recurring purchases, I would make it the same as the major purchases, so if it were to exceed $10,000 for the year, the bid process should be utilized. Unless you wanna set a higher level than that.
No, that's fine.
Okay, emergency services is, and again, professional services, the bids process may be waived for the selection of providers for services that are characterized by a high degree of professional judgment and discretion, including legal, financial auditing, with a value of up to, and again, I would probably put that at $10,000 as well. Okay, sole sources we talked about, okay. On page 6, I guess I would, I don't think the town is gonna develop its own cost principles. I think we would just utilize whatever the federal government
Yep.
does. On page 8, so here again, so this is sort of setting the same policy with regard to when we're working on things with state or federal funds. We're defining what is a micro purchase, a small purchase, or a large purchase. And I don't know if we would wanna use the same, same scheme that we did before, 1,000 to 10,000, about 10,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
I assume that takes into account if something for some reason was exactly 1,000.
Oh,
Is it like,
Yeah, so it's up to $1,000.
Okay, right, so like-
So that would include 1,000.
it would include that, and then for the other, okay.
Okay. Nick, for example, it says here, a request for proposals must be used except for architectural engineering, for which a request for qualifications process may be used, so. That would be a situation where you might get some pre-positioned, firms. Okay, public notice required, again on page 8. I assume, would you like to put sufficient time, no less than 3 weeks, or at least 3 weeks, for how long you'd like to receive responses for the request, if we put out an RFQ. Usually we put it out for a month, but,
At least 3 weeks.
okay, Okay, proposals must be solicited from, insert a specific number of use multiply qualified entities.
I would,
Oh, yeah, multiply.
I would vote
Yeah.
multiple qualified
Yeah.
entities.
Yeah. Okay. Okay, and then procurement by sealed bid, purchases with an aggregate value of so we, in terms of not just requesting for competitive proposals, but for sealed bids, is there a dollar amount we wanna put there for awarding contracts? So they're suggesting no more than $250,000, but we could set a lower number than that, but.
Oh, you get paving,
Right, so 200,000.
you get paving there for those kind of.
Yeah. Two would be fine.
200,000, okay. Okay, and I think that is all. If you want, you can, if that meets to your liking, we can vote on it, or I can retype this up and we can consider it.
Yeah, we're gonna get it typed up in there.
Okay.
And we'll approve it.
Bring it back to Rick.
Okay, yeah, right. Well, I was thinking, I did realize that once I started thinking about all the procurement in terms of who spent money, then that obviously, that I think I would affect the fire
That's
department.
right.
So we should let them be aware of it before we
Yep.
vote on
And
that.
we'll just tell them, just tell them we got an authorized person on there and we'll give them a copy of the policy. They should follow
That's the, approved it, advised, yeah.
it. Alright, is that it for tonight?
I have just briefly on the personnel policy, I don't have a detailed proposal like I did for this, but, last time I probably went into too complicated a system. I think that having looked at how, it's actually accounted for in NEMRIC, there's basically two kinds of leave, there's two systems of doing things in NEMRIC. You either have what they call remaining time, so like holidays are a good example of that. We put in 104 hours of holidays at the beginning of the year, and then we did, every time we have a holiday, we deduct from that. So on the paycheck, it says you have this much time remaining of holidays. And then there's accrued, so there's days remaining, and then there's accrued. And so what I was thinking about with that is that maybe if we were gonna combine the paid time off, and that's the only thing I think we'd be changing in the personnel policy, because I don't think we need to change our comp time policy we adopted last year. Sounds like it is passing muster. But if we were to combine the paid time off that we are currently giving, right now, we give everybody 40 hours of sick time, full-time employees.
Yeah.
It's 24 hours for part-time. We then, depending on how long they've been with the town, they get between 1 week, they are accruing on 1 week to 3 weeks of vacation. Nobody's been with the town for 10 years. Currently, who's a full-time employee, but if there were somebody who was here for 10 years, they would get 4 weeks of vacation. And then we have been giving them, we had been giving them 13 holidays and 1 personal day. We used to give them 12 holidays and 2 personal days. The employees seem to prefer having 2 personal days instead of that extra holiday after Thanksgiving. So, if we were gonna 12 holidays, and so there would be 2 personal days, and then whatever you're accruing for your vacation. So if you were a first-year employee, you'd have, if you started on January 1st, you'd have 40 hours of sick time. You'd have, by the end of the year, you would have accrued 40 hours of vacation. And then you'd have the equivalent of 14 other days between holidays and personal days. Okay. So what I was thinking is that we could have the vacation to continue to accrue as accrued time off and keep the personal time and the sick time as remaining time off. So, and you just get those remaining days at the beginning of the year and they're available to use them, and then the accrued time goes up as the year goes along. And then the remaining time, you would be take it or leave it for the year. So that if you didn't use those remaining days, you would, at the end of the year, you couldn't, they wouldn't roll over, but your accrued time would roll over. And then we would just have 1 cap for accrued time over the year. years, so we could set that, I would probably set that at whatever the lowest level is of the, I can't remember if sick time or, I think sick time is a lower, level of cap compared to vacation. But anyway, that would be a simpler way to administer it, so
Yeah.
basically, everybody would start with at least 56 hours of time that would be available to them as of January 1st, and then as the year goes on, they are accruing time. And if they need it at the beginning of the year, they have that remaining time, and then at the end of the year, they would, they only get to keep the accrued time that they have. And as I proposed, I would think that if we could do it, the most fair way would be for the accrue according to how many hours they worked, as opposed to just how many months they were with the town or something like that. So that's, I think, is a simpler way to do it, and so that's the proposal I'm working on putting together for you guys to consider.
Have you asked the crew what they think of it?
I have, I need to show them specifically, they have obviously specific questions about how that works, but as we mentioned with the comp time that they got this year, they really didn't use the standard benefits package that much in terms of leave, so. But they're not necessarily gonna have that amount of overtime every year, but.
Right.
I think just as long as it's fair, and I think in certain cases, the town is providing time to them, but for example, if you use a lot of sick time at the beginning of the year, under our current system, well, you've used it up, and so at the end of the year, you don't have time for that, but if we had a combined policy, then you could dip into your vacation time to use,
Right.
you wouldn't be stuck with the way that our system works right now, and I think they would prefer that.
And you would be sick
Yeah.
on a holiday.
Right, yes.
Or one of your personal days for you.
So,
I just don't want, I asked 'cause I didn't want to like say, yeah, that sounds great, and then they're all like, we hate this.
right, yeah, no, we just discussed it, and I think they would prefer a system where it's a little, where time's available to them and they get to determine what they're using it for. And I think, I'm just trying to come up with a system that's gonna be the easiest for them to use and the easiest for the clerk to administer.
Right.
And it's, fair, that we're providing time to people and we're not, having to police, each of these little boxes of, oh, you can only roll over this much of this and you can only roll over so much of that. And,
Yeah.
So I think that's the simplest way to do it, is to just set a certain amount that they get to the end of the year, and then there's another side that they're accruing as the year goes on, and that way they should have time available throughout the year that they can use for whatever reason.
I'll move we adjourn.
Alright,
I'll second that.
Yep.
alright. Meeting's adjourned.